I had dinner with the president of El Salvador. He told me something that made me realize Bitcoin is about to fundamentally evolve, and nobody sees it coming. Here's what he said that changed everything. For 500 years, dominant currencies follow the same cycle: rise, peak, overextension, collapse. The Portuguese real, the Spanish silver, the Dutch guilder, the British pound, the US dollar. Each empire and currency burn out the same exact way. Too much expansion, too much confidence, too much war, too much debt, too much printing. Fast forward to today. Wars, deficit, oil deals, money printing. Money printing, the same pattern that killed every reserve currency, is now written all over the US balance sheet. Dollar reserve share falling from 70 to 58%. BRICS building payment systems that skip the dollar. US debt at 124% of GDP. Foreign demand for US treasuries collapsing. So what does this all mean? Well, in the previous cycle, this is the part where the old money loses trust and a new form of money rises. But this time, the challenger might not be another empire. Because come on, let's face it, China, they're stacking gold like it's 1945. They're not breaking the game. They just want to be the next ones who get to make the rules. But they also have higher debt than the US. They have a collapsing population and all sorts of restricting capital control policies, which means they'll never have a dominant global reserve currency. The EU, it looks like a different power center, but it's just a different branch of the central bank cartel. Unelected suits in Brussels, the IMF, the ECB, and the BIS, all tearing itself apart while they're trying to force a digital euro on 400 million people while their economy still drowns in debt.
And the US, it's not really America versus the world anymore.
It's a proof of weapons network that is run by Wall Street, by the Federal Reserve, by BlackRock, and the military-industrial complex. Your favorite politicians, they're just the entertainment division. They don't run the show, they read the script.
And I don't mind making the speech without a teleprompter, because the teleprompter is not working.
They are cannibalizing its own population to keep a dying debt empire alive, propped up by a tether-sized bandit. So yeah, worked. Well, what about Bitcoin? It's got the store of value part going strong. You can send and receive Bitcoin fairly easily, but the volatility, that has always been the issue. The crazy people who move to islands might be okay with it, but it's kind of hard to build a national economy around it. Except for the guy who already did it.
El Salvador became the first country in the world on Tuesday to make Bitcoin legal tender.
The real question is, when does Bitcoin graduate to be used as money? And the next step to be used as a new global monetary order. What if I told you that iPhone moment happened to Bitcoin just 18 days ago and nobody's talking about it? Think back to 2007. If you were even alive back then. If you would have told someone that people would be living with supercomputers in their pockets, they'd be getting into a stranger's car and sleeping in a stranger's house and thought it was normal, they would have laughed at you. Well, fast forward to June of '07. The iPhone comes out, and at first glance, it's just a shiny object. The real revolution was hiding in plain sight. The App Store. Those invisible rails that made everything possible. That same moment happened in 2020 when MicroStrategy started buying Bitcoin. At first, most people ignored it. Some people said it was a boring corporate decision. Others said it was plain stupid. 3 years later, it kicked off a major trend. Corporate companies buying Bitcoin, ETFs, nation states stacking sats. Today, something equally boring is happening in payments, and it's about to flip Bitcoin from stage 1 to stage 3 real quick. 18 days ago, companies like Square gave millions of merchants the ability to accept Bitcoin. That means no weird QR codes, no random lightning addresses, nothing out of the ordinary. Just turn on Bitcoin on the same app that they use for credit card payments. And nobody's freaking out about this on TV. But here's why this changes everything. First, vendors can accept Bitcoin as payment, and then they can have auto convert to dollars if they want to, which means Bitcoin just became the fastest settlement currency on earth. Faster than Visa, faster than wire transfers, faster than ACH. Basically, no fees. Just think about that. Every merchant in America now has the option to a payment system that settles in minutes, costs almost nothing, and can be reversed or charged back. Second, this forces every payment processor, Visa, MasterCard, you name it, to compete with Bitcoin. They can't ignore it anymore. They either start offering Bitcoin services or they start seeing their merchants leave for faster and cheaper rails. Third, as more people get used to handling Bitcoin alongside the dollar, demand for Bitcoin products explode. Right now in Canada, you can have a CAD account and a USD account in any bank. Soon, it'll be normal to have a Bitcoin account at a JP Morgan. And they're already working on it. Some have passed legislation for it. So this is pretty wild when you think about it. A world not so distant to us could look insanely different as it does today. Bitcoin could be super easy to accept for merchants. Can you imagine a world full of Bitcoin accepted here signs? People spending Bitcoin would be normalized. That's when the story changes forever. I'm not theorizing here. I know this shift is real because I'm already living inside of it. Here on my island in Mexico, BTC Isla, you can already buy tacos with Bitcoin, sell churros for Bitcoin, pay for gym memberships, clean toilets for Bitcoin.
You can send sats to a kid selling fresh coconuts. You can pay for English classes.
But it's not just us. You have Bitcoin Beach in El Salvador, Berlin in El Salvador. They're building Bitcoin Beach 2.0. And it's not just in El Salvador. You have Motive, the Motive community in Peru. You have tons of communities across Cape Town, Guatemala, Costa Rica, Brazil, Argentina. Everywhere the money's broken, Bitcoin becomes a medium of exchange first and a store of value last. More value without permission. Now, here's why this actually matters. Because this is exactly how every gold reserve currency in history was born. Think about gold for a second. Gold didn't become a reserve currency because a king woke up one day and declared it. It became money because merchants trusted it enough to accept it. Spending, trust, money. Entire empires built on this system. For thousands of years, gold was the monetary order. And in some parts of the world, that still holds true. Not because it was mandated, but because it earned trust through use. Bitcoin is following the same pattern, but faster. Right now, in small areas across Peru, across the Philippines, across Costa Rica, people are choosing Bitcoin as money. Not because a government told them to, but because it works better than what they already have. And every time someone accepts Bitcoin for a taco, a haircut, a bag of coconuts, they are proving that Bitcoin can be trusted as money. That's the same path that gold took. That's the same path the dollar took after Bretton Woods. Except this time, it's happening from the bottom up. People first, institutions later. Here's the real question. If Bitcoin's already being spent in places where the dollar is failing, and if it's already following the same trust building pattern that created every single global reserve currency out there, what does that make Bitcoin? Definitely not only a good store of value, a solid investment, but it's on the early stages of becoming a solid monetary order. And that's why Nayib Bukele told me at dinner, Bitcoin should be a currency. Because he already saw what happens when a whole country tries it. When millions of people wake up, go to work, get paid, or pay others in Bitcoin, that's when the "is it real" conversation ends. And if you're already stacking sats for the future, for yourself, for your kids, for your retirement, for financial freedom, you need to make sure those Bitcoin actually end up where they're supposed to go. That's why I use Casa. They help you set up secure, easy to use, multi-key, self custody. So your Bitcoin doesn't depend on one device, one seed phrase, or one lawyer to screw things up. I'll leave a link below on a free guide on how to do it, because if Bitcoin really is becoming the next global monetary order, you really need to know how not to lose it. For 500 years, reserve currencies rise and fall the same way. This time, the replacement isn't an empire. It's code with a fixed supply. Bitcoin nailed store of value. The next decade is about becoming the thing we actually spend. That's why I say Bitcoin is about to change forever, and nobody realizes it. By the time your mom is buying groceries in Bitcoin without thinking about it, the transaction will already be done.